Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive? Today we're diving into cybersecurity and disaster recovery, but with a twist.
A critical twist, you could say.
Exactly. We're talking about the kind of cybersecurity that keeps an entire nation running. No big deal.
Right. When you put it that way, it does sound like a pretty big deal.
Right, so buckle up, because this deep dive is all about the high-stakes world of Homeland Security in the digital age.
High stakes is right. The threats are constantly changing, and the consequences, while they could be devastating.
Absolutely. And to guide us through this complex landscape, we're turning to Cloud-Based Cybersecurity, Homeland Security and Disaster Recovery.
A fantastic resource, by the way.
It really is. We'll be gleaning insights from Joanna, cybersecurity expert extraordinaire based in London, and Patrick Young, who brings decades of experience from the front lines of the tech world in Sweden.
So we're getting a global perspective.
Exactly. Which is key because, as we know, cyber threats don't exactly respect borders.
That's an understatement. And the book really hits home with how vulnerable some of our most critical infrastructure really is.
Stuff we rely on every single day without even thinking about it.
Right. Energy grids, transportation systems, communication networks, healthcare. These are the systems that keep society functioning.
The things we only really notice when they stop working, and not in a good way.
Exactly. And that's the scary part. The book dives into 4 key sectors: energy, transportation, communications, and healthcare. What's unnerving is how much they all rely on digital systems these days.
Which are prime targets for cyber attacks.
Precisely. So let's break down each sector, shall we? Let's start with energy. What could a cyber attack on our energy grid actually look like?
Paint me a picture.
Imagine a widespread blackout, but not your average power outage caused by a storm or equipment failure. This blackout is triggered by malicious code, intentionally disrupting the flow of electricity.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little anxious already.
Yeah.
But how is that even possible?
Our power grids are incredibly interconnected and automated these days. They're controlled by sophisticated digital systems, which, while efficient, also create new vulnerabilities.
So it's like the more advanced we become, the more vulnerable we are.
In a way, yes, it's a constant arms race. But let's move on to transportation. That's another essential sector that's become increasingly reliant on digital technology.
Oh, I can only imagine. GPS, traffic control systems.
Exactly. Public transportation scheduling, air traffic control, it's all interconnected. Now, imagine a cyber attack throwing all of that into chaos. Gridlock, accidents, disruptions to already fragile supply chains. The impact would be immediate and widespread.
And those supply chains are already stretched thin these days. Okay, that's a nightmare scenario. Let's move on to communications. I have a feeling that one's a major target, right?
Absolutely. Communications networks are the backbone of everything. Emergency services, businesses, even just staying in touch with loved ones. Disrupt that, and you have widespread panic, hampered emergency response. Basically, a breakdown of society as we know it.
Okay, I'm officially terrified. But we've got one sector left: healthcare. That one feels especially personal.
It is personal medical records, imaging systems, even life-saving equipment are increasingly reliant on digital networks. A cyber attack on a hospital could literally mean the difference between life and death. Surgeries postponed, records inaccessible. It's a chilling thought.
It really is. It's a sobering reality check that these systems are vulnerable. And the stakes, well, they're incredibly high. But the authors of this book aren't just pointing out the problems, right? They offer solutions.
They do, and that's where cloud-based cybersecurity comes in.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What makes the cloud such a game changer when it comes to protecting these critical systems?
It all boils down to adaptability and scalability. Traditional security systems can be rigid, slow to adapt.
Kind of like trying to fight a modern war with outdated weapons.
Exactly. Cloud-based systems, on the other hand, are much more agile. They can adapt to the ever-changing threat landscape in real time.
So it's like having a highly skilled mobile security force that can adapt to any situation.
Precisely. It's about having the intelligence and flexibility to outmaneuver the bad guys. Constantly analyzing massive amounts of data, looking for patterns, identifying anomalies, and hopefully predicting attacks before they even happen.
It's like having a team of digital detectives working around the clock, but with the power of AI and machine learning at their fingertips.
You got it. And that's where the cloud really shines. It allows us to leverage those cutting-edge technologies to protect our critical infrastructure in ways that were impossible before.
So let's dive into that a bit more. How is AI being used in the real world to bolster cybersecurity? Give me some examples.
Let's take ransomware attacks, for instance. Imagine AI-powered security systems that can spot those subtle signs of an attack in progress.
What kind of signs?
Well, unusual file activity, suspicious network traffic, things that might slip past a human analyst.
But AI can pick up on those patterns.
Exactly, and it can often neutralize the threat before it can even do any real damage.
That's incredible. So instead of just reacting to attacks, we're now using AI to predict and prevent them.
Precisely. It's about proactively identifying and neutralizing threats, shifting the balance of power in our favor. And the cloud makes it possible to deploy these AI-powered solutions at a scale that can really make a difference.
It sounds like AI is changing the game entirely.
Absolutely. And as our critical infrastructure becomes even more reliant on digital systems, the role of cloud-based cybersecurity powered by AI is only going to become more vital.
So we've covered the what and the why of cloud-based cybersecurity, but what about the how? How do we actually put all of this into practice at a national level? I mean, it's one thing to talk about AI in the cloud, but how do we actually make it work in the real world?
That's where things get really interesting. Protecting critical infrastructure isn't just the responsibility of individual companies or organizations. It requires a coordinated national effort.
Like a national security strategy, but for the digital world.
Exactly. You got to have a plan, right? A really good one.
Like a playbook for cyber warfare. Something that tells everyone exactly what to do if a major attack hits.
Exactly. It's about outlining how different government agencies will work together, how they'll coordinate with private companies, all that.
So it's not just about having the right technology, it's about having the right people and processes in place to actually use it effectively.
You got it. Roles, responsibilities, communication protocols, every last detail needs to be spelled out and rehearsed so that when not if something happens, the response is quick and coordinated.
Like a well-drilled orchestra. Each musician knowing their part perfectly, and in this case, the music they're making is protecting our nation's critical infrastructure.
Exactly. But here's the thing. You can't win this fight alone. You need strong partnerships. Government agencies working hand in hand with those private companies we talked about.
Because cyber threats don't discriminate, so our defenses shouldn't either.
Exactly. Seamless information sharing, joint training exercises, even developing cybersecurity tools and technologies together. It's a team sport. We're all on the same side here.
It's stronger together, right? Okay, so we've got a solid plan, strong partnerships. What else is crucial for an effective national cyber incident response?
Learning from the past. History might not repeat itself exactly, but it sure does give us some valuable lessons. And the book does a great job of highlighting some real-world case studies that we can all learn from.
Like what? Give me an example. What kind of things should we be paying attention to?
Well, take the 2020 SolarWinds supply chain attack, for instance. That one was a doozy.
That was the one where hackers slipped malicious code into a software update.
Yep, that's the one. And the thing is, SolarWinds, they provide IT management tools to a ton of organizations, including government agencies.
So it was like a Trojan horse sneaking in through a trusted source.
Exactly. And because the update seemed legit, it totally bypassed a lot of security systems. Once it was installed, that malicious code gave the attackers a back door into all those networks. Talk about a worst-case scenario.
And it affected a lot of high-profile targets, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah. Multiple U.S. government agencies, major tech companies, even cybersecurity firms were hit. So what's the takeaway? We need to be way more careful about our software supply chains.
So even if it comes from a trusted vendor, you can't be too careful.
Exactly. We need tighter security, stricter controls, the whole 9 yards. And that goes for the entire software development lifecycle, from the moment the code is written to when it's actually deployed.
Got it. So supply chain security is crucial. What other lessons can we learn from past incidents?
Well, the 2021 Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack is another one that comes to mind.
That one hit close to home for a lot of people. Gas shortages, panic buying. What a mess.
It was a mess,
Yeah.
and it all stemmed from ransomware that completely locked up Colonial Pipeline's systems. They had to shut down the entire pipeline while they dealt with the attack.
Crippling fuel supplies along the entire East Coast. It was definitely a wake-up call for a lot of people.
Big time. That attack really highlighted the importance of something as simple as multi-factor authentication.
Which could have prevented that whole situation.
It might have. It's a simple but effective security measure that more companies and organizations should really be using.
Okay, so supply chain security, multi-factor authentication. Anything else?
One more, and it's a big one. Operational technology segmentation.
Operational technology. Remind me what that is again.
It's the stuff that controls the physical processes, like in those power grids and pipelines we were talking about earlier, also manufacturing plants, things like that.
Right, right.
And we really need to keep those systems separate from the regular IT network. Think of it like, well, your house, if someone breaks in, you don't want them to have easy access to all your valuables.
Yeah, you want to keep them locked away separately.
Exactly. So segmenting those networks is like putting those valuables in a safe. It limits the damage an attacker can do, even if they manage to break in.
Makes sense, minimizing the impact.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a solid plan, strong partnerships, and we're learning from our mistakes. We're doing okay, right?
We're getting there. But there's another big piece of the puzzle we need to talk about. Disaster recovery.
So not just preventing attacks, but having a plan for when something does get through. Because even with the best defenses, there's always a chance, right?
Always a chance. And when it comes to critical infrastructure, we're not just talking about a little downtime or inconvenience. The consequences could be disastrous.
So disaster recovery is about damage control, getting things back up and running as quickly and smoothly as possible.
Exactly. Minimizing the fallout.
And I'm guessing the cloud plays a big role in this too.
It's a game changer for disaster recovery. One of the most promising solutions out there is disaster recovery as a service. DRAW, as it's called.
DRAW. Catchy. Tell me more about this DRAW. What is it exactly?
Think of it like outsourcing your disaster recovery. You've got these third-party providers who specialize in cloud-based recovery solutions.
So instead of each organization having to build and maintain their own expensive backup systems,
Which can be a real headache, let's be honest.
they can basically just tap into the power of the cloud.
Precisely. Flexibility, scalability, DRS providers offer a whole suite of services. Data backup and replication, server failover, they've got you covered.
So if your primary systems go down, you can spin up those backups in the cloud and keep things running.
Exactly. It's like an insurance policy for your critical infrastructure. You hope you'll never need it, but it's there if disaster strikes.
Peace of mind in a nutshell. So DRS sounds like a pretty big deal. Are there any other cloud-based solutions in this space that are worth keeping an eye on?
Oh, absolutely. The cloud is constantly evolving. But one thing that's got me particularly interested is the integration of AI and machine learning into disaster recovery.
AI and disaster recovery. How does that work exactly?
Well, for one, AI can automate many of the tasks involved in disaster recovery, which can seriously speed things up. Think about it. Automatically spinning up those backup servers or restoring data from backups, AI can handle all of that.
So it's like having a team of digital first responders at the ready, just waiting for the call.
Exactly. But here's where it gets even cooler. AI can actually analyze data to spot patterns and predict potential disasters.
Whoa. So we're not just reacting to events after they happen, we're actually getting ahead of them.
Precisely. We can start taking steps to mitigate the impact before it even hits. And when we're talking about critical infrastructure, that's huge.
Huge is an understatement. Okay, so AI for disaster recovery. What else should we be paying attention to? Any other cool technologies on the horizon?
Keep an eye on edge computing. It's already shaking things up.
Edge computing, that's all about processing data closer to the source, right?
Yeah.
Instead of relying on a central cloud, you've got these smaller data centers spread throughout the network.
You got it. And for disaster recovery, that means more localized backups and processing power.
So even if something happens to that main cloud,
You've still got those backups to fall back on. It's about building in extra redundancy and resilience.
smart. And since edge computing reduces latency, those recovery times should be even faster.
That's the idea.
Okay, so we've got AI, edge computing. Anything else making waves in the world of disaster recovery?
One more I have to mention, and it's a big one. Blockchain.
Blockchain. Isn't that the tech behind Bitcoin and all those cryptocurrencies?
It is, but it's so much more than that. And it has huge potential for cybersecurity and disaster recovery.
Okay, now you've got me really curious. How does blockchain fit into all of this?
Blockchain's superpower is that it's virtually tamper-proof. Once data is stored on a blockchain, it's incredibly difficult to alter or corrupt it.
It's like a digital vault for your data.
That's a great way to put it. It makes blockchain ideal for storing those backups. Even if your primary systems get compromised, those blockchain backups are still safe and sound.
An extra layer of trust and reliability. I like it.
It's a game changer for disaster recovery, and it's just one example of how this technology is going to continue to reshape the cybersecurity landscape.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Vulnerabilities, solutions, cutting-edge technologies. It's a lot to take in.
It is, and it's constantly evolving. The key is to be proactive, always learning, always adapting. The bad guys certainly aren't slowing down, so we can't either.
No resting on our laurels in the world of cybersecurity.
Not a chance. We need to bring our A game every single day. And that means leveraging the latest technologies, the best minds, the most creative solutions, all hands on deck to protect these critical systems that we all rely on.
Well said. This deep dive into cloud-based cybersecurity, Homeland security, and disaster recovery has been a wild ride. It's a complex topic, but it's crucial that we understand the stakes, the challenges, and the solutions.
It really is. And I think this book does a great job of breaking it all down in a way that's engaging and understandable. I definitely recommend it to anyone who wants to dig a little deeper.
It's a must-read for sure. But as our listeners continue to explore this fascinating world, here's a final thought to ponder. As our reliance on cloud technology continues to grow, what new skills and knowledge will we need to navigate this ever-changing landscape? It's a question worth thinking about. Because one thing's for sure, the future of cybersecurity is in our hands. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.